I loved going on day game trips so much that I became a digital nomad and traveled the world day gaming and coaching day game for 5 years. I've day gamed, lived, and coached day game in many places all around Europe, Latin America, USA, and Canada. And in this podcast episode, I'll share the best advice so you can get the most results on your next day game trip. You will learn about the best destinations for day game trips in Europe, Latin America, and the US. And in the US, I'll tell you about two small destinations almost no one knows about. How to find the best areas for Airbnb in each city and why you should never stay in hotels during day game trips. How to find the best day game streets in each city, including locations only the locals know about. And how long should your trips ideally be, depending on whether you're going there for fun or to find a long-term partner. Let's start with picking the best destination for your next day game trip. If you want a day game in the US, there are three main cities you should consider and two secret spots only a few guys know about. New York City is hands down the best destination for day game in the US. It's full of beautiful girls whether you go there during the summer or even during the winter. It's amazing. That being said, the girls there are busy. They have a lot of options. There's a lot of competition, so it's harder to get them out on dates. But it's full of tourists and there are a lot of women who have recently moved there. They are your best bet. I've done a bunch of videos about day game in New York City and interviews with local day gamers. Simply search for New York City on my YouTube channel. The next good location in the US is Miami, if you're bringing real value to the table. It's full of beautiful girls packed with hot Latinas, but don't flash your cash in Miami or you might attract the wrong type of girls. I've done a vlog style video about day game in Miami, which ended with me smoking weed at the girl's place on the first day there. Just search for Miami on my YouTube channel. Next on to the most underrated city for day game in USA. That is Chicago. Also, a lot of beautiful women, very few day gamers. These three cities are all amazing for day game, but if you're looking for something off the beaten path, something smaller, then there are two places most people in the US don't know about. Scottsdale, Arizona for hot MILFs and Tempe, Arizona, very close to Scottsdale for the ASU campus girls. And if you are from there, I believe you hate me for putting these out on a video. Next, let's look at the best day game trip destinations in Latin America, and it's not Colombia. Colombia sucks for day game. We're gonna be looking at Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. Mexico can be amazing, but only if you know when and where to go. Playa del Carmen is amazing if you know exactly which part of the year is the best to be there, whereas Mexico City is a complete miss unless you know some crazy secrets that neither me nor my students have been able to figure out. And the best thing is you can go to Mexico on day game in English without learning Spanish for your first time. If you decide you really like it, it is worth learning the language because Spanish opens very many new doors and you will do much better if you speak the local language. Honestly, if you go to the top spots during the peak tourism season, it's hard not to get dates in Mexico. Next, let's talk about Colombia. Colombia in general is pretty bad for day game. Medellin is way too dangerous unless you really know what you're doing. I know a lot of people love Bogota, but in my eyes, it's a bit of a dump. But if you want to go day gaming in Colombia, then Bogota is your best destination. Cali, Santa Marta, Pereira, Barranquilla are all too small in my eyes for day game. There just isn't enough volume on the streets. If I was gonna go back to anywhere in Colombia, it would be Cali just because I enjoyed the city. And again, in Bogota, you can kinda get by with just speaking English. You'll get better results if you speak Spanish, but all the other destinations you have to speak Spanish if you want to get any results there. Except if you just rely on bumping into the right girl and getting lucky, but well, that's not a good strategy. Argentina, Buenos Aires, one of my favorite cities in the world. Tons of stuff to do, great wine, nice bars and restaurants, architecture, culture, great steaks, and more. If you've met Argentines in other parts of the world, then you might be disappointed when going to Buenos Aires because you will realize that a lot of girls there are very artistic, hipster, and it's a pretty woke country. I would say very woke country. The numbers flag there all the time, but still it's my favorite place for day game in Latin America. But again, I have not seen a place in the world where the numbers are so flaky. While some parts of Buenos Aires can be done in English, you're going to be much better off if you actually speak some Spanish, and take into account that Spanish in Argentina is different. They pronounce certain letters differently. They use a lot of words that don't exist in other parts of Latin America and Spanish speaking countries in general. So I suggest getting some Spanish lessons with native Argentine speakers. I think the app is called italki, where you can do that. And if you've done a bunch of places in Spanish already and you want to go deeper, you want to see something off the really beaten path, it's still a popular place, but go to Cordoba. Cordoba is sort of like a hidden gem, I would say. Girls you would see there are very, very beautiful. It's known for some of the most beautiful girls in Argentina, Cordoba and Rosario. Rosario is considered to be even more dangerous than Cordoba. Cordoba, Rosario, and Buenos Aires, I think, are three most dangerous cities in Argentina. What you see in Cordoba a lot is a lot of girls there don't have enough money to kind of dress well and show how beautiful they are, but they are really, really hot. That being said, Spanish in Cordoba is even harder to understand than Spanish in Buenos Aires. So if you haven't done Buenos Aires, or if you struggled with Spanish in Buenos Aires, forget about Cordoba. And I've done a bunch of videos about day game in Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. So just search for them on my YouTube channel if you're interested in going to any of the cities. Especially, I've done a bunch of stuff on Argentina because I've been there for at least 4 times, and I think in total I've spent there around 1 year. Speaking Spanish makes a big difference in Latin America. While you can get by with only English in a bunch of places, you have to understand a little kind of trick, yeah? Some girls in these cities, they do speak English, but you're not the first foreigner who goes there and tries to hit on the local girls. So girls who speak English, they most likely have been out with foreigners. They have dated foreigners. Whereas most girls who don't speak any English at all, well, a lot of the girls who don't speak any English at all have never been out with a foreigner. So if you want to be a bit of a novelty and go out with girls who maybe have never dated foreigners or have dated very few day gamers, and almost certainly have never been out with a foreigner who approached them on a street, then speaking Spanish will open so many new doors. And if you speak Spanish, your experience in Latin America in general is going to be so much better. You can have interesting conversations even with Uber drivers, people you meet in different bars and different environments. You're just going to see much deeper behind the curtain than you would if you just go there as a gringo tourist only speaking English. And if you haven't been to Latin America, then don't be a stupid gringo. Don't go to Colombia or Cordoba if you don't understand how things work in Latin America. I just know way too many people who have had guns or knives in their faces, even a guy who had an AK-47 in his face in Brazil, and a guy who was drugged by 2 girls from Panama in Buenos Aires. So if you haven't been to Latin America, maybe start with something simpler like Mexico. It's relatively, it's much safer than Colombia, than Cordoba. You can also do Buenos Aires. In Buenos Aires, a lot of people feel very safe compared to many places in Colombia, maybe even Mexico City, especially places like Cordoba. Yeah. I've done a long video with all the safety tips you should consider before going to these countries, so watch that if you're going to Latin America. The best places for a day game trip in Europe. The popular places in Europe are popular for a reason. They're full of beautiful girls, and these girls are more receptive than in other locations. So if you are taking your first day game trip or one of your first day game trips in Europe, you should start with the places everyone knows about. But now let's look at a bunch of options you will have for Europe. Let's start with the most popular day game place in Europe, at least for day game trips, Warsaw in Poland. It is better than Krakow because Krakow Warsaw is too touristic. There are a few kind of tricks and downsides to places that are overly touristic when it comes to day game. Warsaw is full of beautiful local Ukrainian, Belarusian girls, full of tourists. That being said, I think it's the most overgamed place in Europe. While it is full of day gamers, you have to understand that, at least in my estimate, only 1 out of 50 to 100 day gamers actually does good when approaching women. So if your game is good, it doesn't really matter that the city is full of really shitty day gamers. Costa, a student I coached in the summer of 2025, went there right after I coached him and completely destroyed the city. Costa is a digital nomad in his 40s who was worried that his age would be a problem in day gaming, but then he learned how to day game properly and got laid with a bunch of girls in their 20s, also in Warsaw, Poland. If you want to learn more about his story, just go to my YouTube channel and search for Costa, Kosta. Next, Budapest, Hungary. It's a really cool city, great for day game, a little bit harder than Warsaw, Poland. If Warsaw is known for a lot of petite women, then, well, you'll find more curves in Budapest if that's your thing. Just as Warsaw, Budapest sees a fair share of day gamers going there, but if you are the type of a guy they like, you will get good reactions there. The best places to day game in Budapest are the second tier streets because they're still full of beautiful girls just because of how busy the city is, but other day gamers don't go there. In my eyes, it's one of the best cities in Europe for digital nomads. There's tons of stuff to do. There's so many nice bars, coffee shops, parks, etc. Relatively cheap. I've spent a few months in total in Budapest and have done multiple videos about day game in the city. Belgrade, Serbia is known for hot, a bit more traditional girls. It's the capital of harsh blowouts in Europe. When I first started coaching day game 8 years ago, then Serbia was the first place I went to on a long day game trip for 1 month. I went there with a few wings, with a few students. We had an amazing time there, but it was harder than we expect, and there is so much meat in Belgrade. It was crazy. There was so much meat that one of the guys I went there with simply became vegan after the trip. I haven't spent a lot of time in Belgrade, a little more than 2 months, but even in that time, part of the lays I got were same-day lays and same-day delays, which was unexpected for a country as traditional. Do take into account that it's a place that is pretty much pro-Russia. You can see a Serbian flag and a Russian flag, a Serbian flag and a Russian flag. Government is definitely supporting Russia. You have a lot of immigrants from Russia there as well, which is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because immigrants from Russia brought a much higher level of restaurants to Belgrade, Serbia, because before they arrived, most restaurants in Serbia were pretty awesome. Even the restaurants that were considered good, we went to them. We did not like them at all. We thought the food was terrible. Now, the last time I was there, it was full of places owned and run by Russians, and the quality was much, much higher. I think Belgrade, Serbia is a great place to challenge yourself if you've been to a few of these easier places, but I suggest going there during shoulder seasons like spring and autumn because summer can really be way too hot. Next, one of my favorite places for day game in Europe, Prague in Czech Republic. Prague used to be just as overgamed as Warsaw, Poland, but the Airbnbs became much more expensive and most day gamers simply couldn't afford to go there anymore. So now it's not as busy, it's much better than it used to be, and it's one of my go-to destinations for coaching day game in Europe. Barcelona in Spain, I like to compare it to Buenos Aires. I like to see it as like the small version of Buenos Aires in Europe. I know people in Spain would be angry about me saying this. You can also look at Buenos Aires as the small version of Barcelona in Argentina. Barcelona is full of beautiful Latinas from Argentina, Chile, and other parts of Latin America. Traffic is definitely good, and they also have the same culture of going out pretty late, just as in Argentina. Because Barcelona is such a touristic place, it's a good idea to go there for a longer period of time, a month, maybe even a few months. If you're looking for a place where you could live for a while, then I think Buenos Aires is a great option if you can afford it. because in more touristic places, girls are tired from guys who are there just for a week, and they do prefer going out with someone who's actually living there at least for a little bit. If you go there for a longer time, I think it's definitely a place worth checking out. Yeah, the traffic is great, the city is beautiful, the tons of stuff to do. Weed is legal as well, yeah, but Barcelona is the only place where someone has actually tried robbing me. That's how I ended up doing the video about safety tips for Latin America, because they also apply to places like Barcelona and London. Next, Lisbon in Portugal. If you're looking for a place to live and day game at, then this should be at the top of your list. It's a beautiful city, very good seafood, nice wine, and great shopping if you like stuff made by small local artisans. You'll see very different types of girls in Lisbon, of course, the local girls, but also many expats, immigrants from Latin America, especially Brazil. I've met quite a few Ukrainians there, so definitely a place to check out. And the last place to mention in Europe before we start talking about some places off the beaten path is Vienna in Austria. I went there in January to coach a student, and I was surprised. The day game was much better than I expected, especially given how cold it was outside. The majority of girls we met there were actually Austrian, but we also bumped into quite a few women who have moved to live there, so it's definitely a place worth checking out. And now some second-tier locations in Europe. If you've been to a bunch of places we talked about, then these are some extra places to consider. The Baltics, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. In some ways, they are really good cities, but only if you know which parts of the year to go there, which streets exactly you should be day gaming at, and what times of the day exactly you have to be on the streets. If you know these things, you're gonna have a great time. If you don't, you're gonna be walking around empty streets. The best thing about the Baltics is that the women are right in the middle between the Western and more traditional values, proper wife material. Next, other places in the Balkans. Because I didn't like Serbia that much, I haven't explored other places in the Balkans, but I've heard some good reviews, so you'll have to do your homework to decide what's the places that are worth going to. But I was just looking at how big the city is, how many people live there. If it's less than 500,000, I wouldn't go there, with some rare exceptions, but bigger cities are definitely worth checking out. Helsinki in Finland, I went there in the summer of 2024 to coach a student, and it was a little weird. It kind of seemed like girls didn't understand how to respond to stacks, theses, and storytelling. They just couldn't understand what you want from them. But that's because in Finnish culture, they don't really do small talk. So you'll have to adjust your game a little bit and simply introduce more questions into your day game toolkit. That's it. Move away from crazy teases and stacking to simple questions. But Helsinki, just like the Baltics and other places in the Balkans, well, Helsinki is a place worth checking out only if you've been to a bunch of places already and just want to try something different. How long should a day game trip be? And this depends on whether you're going there on a vacation, whether you're actually trying to get laid, or you're looking for a long-term partner. If you're going to a city with an intention to meet and sleep with the local girls, your day game trip should be at least 3 weeks long. Why so long? Because you might be going on multiple dates. You need enough time to go not only on a first date, but in many cases on a second date, and once in a while you have to leave enough time to go on a third date with some of the girls. If you are going to an easier place and you're really good at day game, and I mean 40-to-1 open to lay ratio or better, then well, maybe 2 weeks is enough as well. Anything less than 3 weeks, I'd say view it as a fun trip that you're going on, and day game is something you're gonna be doing there as well, but it's not a dedicated day game trip. On shorter trips, you're kind of hoping to run into the right girl, to just get lucky, and as they say, luck is not a strategy. And don't be an asshole. Don't pretend you're gonna live there, date them, or anything like that. Let them know how long you're in a city for. Let them know when you leave. Don't give them false hope for relationships. That's just being an asshole. The only reason guys do that is because they don't know how to get laid with women without lying to them. That's what gives this industry such a bad reputation. This is the difference between giving girl an amazing memories about your time together or her questioning every guy she's gonna date in the future. Or look at it like that. Don't make it harder for the next guy she's gonna date. Be a good bro. Also, if she knows you're there for 1 or 2 weeks, she's not gonna come out unless she is open to something, a little adventure. With some exceptions with girls who are going out with you just because they're curious. But mostly, you're gonna be filtering out for girls who are down to have some fun. So it's a good idea to tell that you're there for just a few weeks. Everything changes if you're going to a place with an intention to finding a partner. If you actually want to date someone in a city, just move there. Anything less than a few months simply isn't serious. I did the whole digital nomad thing for 5 years. I met wonderful girls around the world, had some mini relationships, but these mini relationships always had an expiration date. That's what makes these mini relationships so good. The fact that you're gonna leave, that's what adds the spark. If you want to date someone in the city you are actually going to, if you want to find a long-term partner, I suggest really going on long-term trips at least a few months. Or another thing you can do is go to a bunch of places for 1 month each to find a place where you really like the women, and then go either spend a lot of time in that one place or just keep going back and forth between where you live and this place where you want to find a partner. A girl I used to date when I first went to Buenos Aires, Argentina, later met a Dutch guy who went there just to check out Argentina. They met online, they really hit it off. The guy came back one more time. Later, she visited him in Amsterdam. They went on a trip to Colombia to meet her family, and they've been in a beautiful relationship for multiple years now. And I love to see that because I think they're both amazing people. And there are a bunch of other couples I have met who met the same way. But if you are going to these places to meet your long-term partner, then I have to give you a warning, yeah? Don't go there looking for places, looking for girls who need saving, or you might meet someone who is simply looking for a way to get a foreign passport or a way to get out of the country, and she cares about that much more than she actually cares about you. Plenty of guys have been burned this way. Australia even has a law about how many girlfriends you can bring in because they know that women use this thing as a way to immigrate in Australia. If your dating skills are shit in a city where you live, it's highly unlikely you're gonna meet an amazing high-value woman in any other place in the world using the same skill set. Sometimes once in a blue moon it will work, and that's how you hear these success stories, but more often than not, if guys are looking for someone to save, they will get burned. How to find the best day game streets in each city you go to. This is actually simpler than you might think. First, you can look at reports from other guys. You can read reports how other guys did on day game trips, what they learned, what were the best streets they found. But you will only find the most popular streets the foreigners know. You're quite unlikely to find kind of hidden spots only the local guys know. But this is the best starting point you have. And the next option is use Google Maps. There are a few things you can do on Google Maps to find the best streets. First of all, look at how busy the streets are, because you'll see that most of the map is white, but then there are some streets that are light yellow and some streets that are dark yellow. The darker the color, the busier the street. You can also find shopping malls, and in their listings, you will see at what times how many people are there. You'll see what are the peak hours in each shopping mall. Next, let's look for shopping streets, stores like H&M, Zara, etc. Also big shopping malls, but be careful with those because sometimes they're outside of the city center. Another little trick is looking for luxury shopping streets. So simply search for a bunch of luxury brands and see if there is a street where they all pop up. For example, in Prague, there is one street with all of them. In in Budapest, Hungary, there is one street with all of them. If you find a bunch of popular stores like H&M, Zara, etc. on one street, and then a few blocks away you see another street with all the luxury stores, then that neighborhood is where you want to be. And a little hack you can use to find streets off the beaten path is look for yellow streets next to the busiest areas. Oftentimes, this will be between busy areas and business districts. You can recognize those by simply looking around for some skyscrapers. Of course, you can do this online, but when you are in person in the busiest day game places, yeah, just look around, look for where the skyscrapers are, and check the streets between the busy day game areas and those business districts. This is actually the secret for finding the best day game streets in Warsaw, because Zloty Tarasy and between Zloty Tarasy and TJ Maxx, all that area is full of day gamers. You'll get rejections there all the time. But then you look around for skyscrapers and you do the streets that go from Zloty Tarasy to these skyscrapers, and you'll see almost no day gamers there, but these places have just as many beautiful girls walking around them. If you are exploring areas in a city that are outside of the most popular areas, most popular streets, parks, etc., if you're looking at a map and you find some potentially really good spots, then go there at the right times, because in some places you have to be at the right time. The best times are around the lunchtime, so that's noon-ish, and when people finish work, so that's around 5 p.m. How to find the best areas for Airbnbs on your next day game trip? First, let's look at why you should stay at an Airbnb and why you should never book a hotel for your day game trip. In hotels, they have stricter rules for having guests. Sometimes they will make each guest sign in, show the ID, etc. And it's like an extra step that you have to take. In some places, they might try to get some money out of you for bringing a guest in, especially in Latin America and Colombia. It's like a scammy thing that they could sometimes do in a hotel. On top of that, they might have a rule that you have to let them know if you're gonna have a guest in advance, not just when you show up. In general, you'll have more issues with this in hotels than with Airbnbs. In Colombia, before booking your Airbnb, always read the listing. What is the guest policy? Ask, hey, I'm meeting some friends in the city. They're gonna come over for a dinner. Is that fine? Or how does this work? Yeah, find out about their guest policy. If there is a no guest policy, if you have to register them a day in advance or anything like that, simply look for another place. Simple as that. There's a big prostitution problem in Colombia, so many places will have strict rules about guests, but it's gonna be easier to work around these rules when booking an Airbnb than when booking a hotel room. To find the best areas, start by looking at the digital nomad and expat communities on Facebook. This works especially well for Latin America and Asia. There, people oftentimes discuss which neighborhoods are the best ones to live at, which neighborhoods offer what, so you'll quickly understand what's the best area for day game. Other than that, search engine, Google Maps, and AI are your best friends. Look at the descriptions of the touristic areas and find which are the neighborhoods where people go just to hang out. They go to restaurants, bars, etc. That's where you wanna be. If you followed my advice on how to find the best day game streets, simply book an Airbnb right next to those streets. That's it. Don't try saving money by staying far away from the best day game streets. It's much easier to pull if it's a 5 or 10 minute walk from the bar than it is if you have to take a 30-minute train ride. If you don't know what types of bars you have to look for your dates, because there is a big difference between venues that work good for as the first place you go to and as the next bar you go to before asking a girl to come back to your place, then check out my free dating guide on daygamecourses.com, where you will learn exactly how to run your dates step by step so that more of them end with some fun in your bedroom. In Europe, you can actually save some money by staying, let's say, a 15-minute walk away from the places where you're going to be going on dates. That's fine, but never do this in Latin America. In Latin America, you could be in a good neighborhood on one street, but in a very dangerous neighborhood just a few blocks further down the street. And lastly, don't base your day game trips just on the idea of trying to get lucky. If you're doing good day gaming gaming in the city where you live and now you want to explore the world and go on some adventures, check out different cities for day game, that's an amazing experience to have. On my day game trips and my 5 years of digital nomad lifestyle, I've been to amazing places, I've met beautiful women, have had wild adventures, fulfilled most of my, if not all of my sexual fantasies. And most importantly, I've tried dating different types of women to really understand what's my actual type, what type of a girl do I want to start a relationship with. So go ahead, explore, have fun. If on the other hand, you're not doing great in day game and you think that you're gonna discover some magical pussy paradise where girls will be so excited to see you, go out with you and sleep with you, you might be up for a disappointment. Before the war in Ukraine started, there were so many stories about guys going to Ukraine and dating these amazing girls, but how many of those stories ended with lays? Not many. The thing that guys missed about day game in Ukraine is that Ukrainian girls are very receptive on the street. They give out their numbers very easily and they come on dates very, very easily. But they are pretty hard to sleep with, again, unless you get lucky. So all of these guys were going to Kiev, going on dates with these beautiful women, spending money on them, also giving them gifts, plenty of stories like that. But very few of these guys were actually getting laid and even starting relationships with these girls. Warsaw is similar. Why are so many guys going on day games to Warsaw? Because Polish girls are pretty friendly unless you open them right in front of Zloty Tarasy, yeah? They're easy to talk to. They give out their numbers very easily. A lot of those numbers flake. A lot of them don't come out on dates, and a lot of those dates are kind of friendly. Yeah, but when they come out on dates, it's a little different. Oftentimes, it's just them being curious to go out with a foreigner. It's them enjoying attention, but it's not because they want to sleep with you or date you. That's not oftentimes why they're going out with you. On top of that, if you are looking for a girl who wants to date you because you're a foreigner, you think you're an exciting thing, you are at a risk of running into girls who want to get that passport because of you, who want to get someone to save them and take them somewhere else. Not necessarily because they like you, they just want your help to get out of the country, and that's probably not the type of a girl you want to date. All of this being aside, day game trips can be an amazing adventures. You can meet beautiful and interesting girls. If you are in a city that's rather hard for day game, it's definitely a good idea to go to an easier city to see, hey, how am I doing in a place where girls are more receptive, when they are more likely to come out on a date, even if it's just a date, even if you don't get, 5 days in a month or whatever. Yeah, it's a great idea to go on a day game trip. But if you are going on a day game trip, make sure you are prepared. Check out my free texting guide where you will learn what to do so more of your numbers end in as dates, and my free dating guide where you will learn what to do so more of your dates end with some fun in your bedroom. All of those are available for free on daygamecourses.com. And if instead of doing this on your own, you want to go on a day game trip with me and learn day game together with me, then consider getting day game coaching. You'll find all the information about coaching by clicking the link in description. There you'll find information about how it usually works, the approximate pricing, etc. And also you'll be able to schedule a free call where we will simply get to know each other and understand whether this is a good idea for you. All of that again in the link in description. That's it for this time. So see you in the next podcast episode. Ciao, guys.